Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Vodafone's session on enhancing your personal brand. Kanisha, I'll pass over to you to give the introductions. Very much one I'm looking forward to, so take it away.
Thank you, Alex, and welcome everyone to Vodafone's session on enhancing your personal brand. We're very, very excited to have this opportunity to speak to all of you and to able to engage with all of you. We've heard that this week has been full. This week and the last week has have been full of amazing workshops, and especially the hackathon and the hack that happened over the weekend. So really exciting to be a part of this event with you, to be a part of the Athena hackathon time and to have all of you join us as well for today's session on enhancing your personal brand. My colleague and I are super excited to share with you some insights that we hope that help you on your career journeys as well. No matter what stream it is that you're going towards, what area it is in, hopefully the tech side of things helps you as well as we bring you a little bit closer to tech and show you what personal brand means, but also in the tech space. So just wanted to give a quick hello from our end. I'm Kanisha, I introduced myself, but I am the youth attraction and recruitment lead here in Vodafone. I started in the company 3 years ago, and I started as on one of its youth programs, and now I'm looking after it. So that's an introduction to me. And joining me is my wonderful colleague Ruby. Ruby, I'll let you introduce yourself as well.
Hi, thank you so much, Kanisha. Hi, everyone. Really excited to be here also. I'm Ruby Kaur. I'm a senior solutions architect within Vodafone. I've been working in the industry 20 years now, a lot of experience, lots of tips to share and advice. And I've been with Vodafone 7 years. It's a brilliant place, and I'm really looking forward to this session with you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ruby. Yeah, so I guess just diving right into the session, we have some exciting, thoughts to share with you, ideas, especially when it comes to personal branding. So we'll start with personal brand and you. So focusing on you and what are some of the tips, some of the guidance and advice that we have that we want to share. We then move into the tech career path with Ruby. So she's going to be sharing her story with you, but also a few analogies that I'm sure will be of great help to you. We'll then move into a little bit just an introduction about Vodafone and our own brand. So how does brand work in that sense? And then we'll try and leave some time around for questions at the end so that if you have any questions that you want to share, Alex was mentioning that there is, on YouTube, you have the space to ask any questions. So if you want, keep those questions coming through, and perhaps at the end of the session, we can take a look at those questions, and Ruby and I would be more than happy to answer those questions for you. Awesome. So moving into the agenda and the first part of this agenda, which is personal brand and you. Now, we often talk about personal brand. We often hear the term, what is my personal brand? But what does personal brand mean? It means what our values are, how are we bringing ourselves out and about in front of people. But let's get to personal brand in a moment. But to get there, we need to know what we like and what is it that we're aiming for. So what I'd like you to do is go on, if you have your phone next to you, or if you have a web browser open, would love for you to go on to www.menti.com and enter the code 6824 4188. Now, I'd love for you to tell me about what your favorite brand is. Now, it can be any favorite brand that you have, but I'm also looking for the why. Why is your favorite brand your favorite? So, what makes your favorite brand the most appealing to you? And while I wait for all of you to go on to Menti and tell me about your favorite brand, I'd love to hear from Ruby what her
Mhm.
favorite brand is and why.
Brilliant. It's interesting. My favorite brands have actually changed as I've got older. So when I was younger, it was Coca-Cola, because Coca-Cola was the drink of the youth, and it was the drink of, feeling that lifestyle kind of analogy that went with
Yeah.
Coca-Cola, and it was everywhere. But as I've got older, my Coca-Cola has changed into the drink called Innocent, which you may have seen, the brand Innocent. And because if you read their labels, it tells you about what they're doing for the environment, what they're doing, and how much percentage of apples have gone into the drink, how many oranges have gone in. That really is good for me, knowing that this company cares about what they're putting into their product, and it really makes me feel good because I'm drinking this lovely fresh juice as well. So to me, I actually think it's the innocent flavored drinks now is my favorite brand. Kanisha, do you have one as well? Do you have a
Well, I
favorite
have,
brand?
yeah, I'd say I have a few favorite brands. But I'd say in the tech space, I'd say Apple is one of my favorite brands. The reason for it, of course, being that, uh, being a user for it, I do know that every time I can use an Apple product, there's a sense of consistency that you have in terms of the products, in terms of its quality. But outside of that, I think I really like I like the Body Shop.
Hmm.
And it's because
Yeah.
of the whole aspect about ethical kind of being an ethical brand. I think that
Yes.
for me is very important. So I think if I was to think of two completely different areas, I would say one is Apple, and then the Body Shop is the other one that I
Yes,
would be thinking
absolutely.
about.
Yeah,
And let's take a look at our mentee. So we have someone who's mentioned Nike, so that they said that they love the purpose. So love the purpose of Nike. Any other brands? Feel free to share with us about those as well. Alex, do you have a favorite brand?
Put, putting me on the spot. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
of
I
course.
do you know what? I was trying to think about it, and Ruby, your mention of innocent, I think that's a great example. I think their social media recently, and to kind of go along with that, and I don't know whether I'd classify them within my favorite brand because of it, but there's obviously been a lot with Aldi recently and their kind of social media team of what's been going on, and I
Yes.
think
Yes.
that for me has certainly had an impact on how I view them as a brand, and I think that's how Innocent started to change, right? Is from just a smoothie drinks company to actually someone that you would like. I never saw myself following a smoothie company in my life, but having yeah, having seen them on social, I'm like, yeah, I can't not. So I think
Hmm.
Innocent's a great shout.
Yeah, and they're so cool. That's the thing. We
Yes.
we magnify towards attract ourselves towards, coolness. And that's what they are.
Absolutely. Yeah, and thank you both for sharing and for the audience who shared about Nike and loving their purpose. Now, what we realize when we think about the brands is that there are certain reasons why we choose certain brands over others, or reasons that we don't choose certain brands over others. Sometimes there might be brands which have done something that's unethical, or for some reason you have a perception about them because of how they've been highlighted in the media for something wrong that's come out. So there's sometimes you choose certain brands, for example, reliability. So, when you think about consistent quality, you feel positive experiences. So you've really had a great experience with any product, solution, or service that brand has had. You've had recommendations from others. And then there's the flip side where you don't think about a particular brand because of a negative experience. But I think what comes down to it is, what is your brand? So now we spoke about brands on a wider level, but when we think about it, what is it that you stand for? If someone was to think about you, how would they perceive you? And I think that is where your personal brand comes through. So your personal brand is all about how are other people perceiving you? How are you coming off as? And your personal brand will always be true to yourself. It's the most authentic version of you that you can bring out, whether that's in front of employers, whether that's in front of any kind of colleagues once you're in the space, also outside in the world. So it's really about understanding your values, because that's what comes through most in your personal brand. So that is that big question, that how is it that you want to be perceived when you think about your personal brand? So what are the values that you stand for? Is it related to the people you work with? Is it related to the overall environment that you're working for, organizations that you work for? So that begs the question that what is it and how is it that you want to be perceived? And that's where the start of your personal brand comes through. One of the most important elements when we think about our personal brand is about understanding our strengths, thinking about what am I good at, what am I even brilliant at, and highlighting those strengths. So thinking about my super strengths or something that I'm really great in, and how is it that I'm bringing that out and about. So there'll be some of them will be your natural talents or some that you've already had. Some you'll have built in terms of the experiences that you've had in life. And that's what is going to form your strengths. And your strengths will always stay at the core of how your personal brand comes through. But when we speak about strengths, there's again always that side of, right, how are my weaknesses coming out? Is that reflecting in my brand? You always have that little bit of a, sound in your mind or a tone in your mind asking you, what about those weaknesses? When it comes to your personal brand, it's always great to be thinking about for 80% of the time, to be spending it in the way that you make your strengths even stronger. And then in 20% of focusing on your personal brand, you think about how is it that I can address any of these weaknesses, or how is it that I can develop further in those. And I think that helps you again in terms of enhancing your brand, but also first knowing what your brand is all about. And so I think the next obvious step is thinking about how can I activate my personal brand. And we do this little bit of an exercise, which is the reflective best self. Now, it's often difficult to think about how you come off as without actually asking people about how they think that you are, or how they think you are as a person, or what are the core elements that you stand for. I was speaking to one of my friends the other day, and we decided to do a little bit of an exercise because she was asked by her line manager to do that. And it was that you ask five people, you ask your friends, you ask your family, perhaps if you have a professor, you ask them what makes you unique. So when they speak to you, what about you is it that they remember? So you ask people, ask five people, and hear from them how you're coming off as, how your personal brand is coming off as. And then from that you can think about, when I think about my career, at the end of my career, what do I want people to have felt about me? How do I have wanted that people would have thought about me? Am I known for it today? Is there a journey that I need to take towards it? And then we think about how can we develop that story. So I think I have a few top tips that I wanted to share when it comes to enhancing your personal brand. One of them is developing and sharing a story. Now, storytelling is an extremely powerful tool when it comes to personal branding. When you think about how you're going to be perceived when you're sharing your personal journey, there are some unique or important moments. And I'm sure Ruby's going to be, the perfect example when it comes to storytelling in a few moments when she shares her personal journey and how that links in and how that correlates to her personal brand. So there's some unique and important moments which will shape you, which will shape the values that I was speaking about that really come up in your personal brand. Sometimes it really helps to have some anecdotes written, or just memorized, so that if you're connecting with someone, whether that's in interviews or even in some kind of coffee chats, you have those anecdotes that you can rely on and that you can draw energy from, draw that inspiration from when it comes to sharing about your personal brand. There's also social media. So we are also quite a lot in that world of social media. And we often think about how are you elevating, how are you enhancing your personal brand, how are you bringing it up on platforms such as LinkedIn, but also Instagram and Facebook. How are you being perceived on the social media? So think about what is it that you're sharing online. And when you're making connections with people on LinkedIn, make sure you're making those meaningful connections as well when it comes to your personal brand, so that you can leverage on your network and that you can also be of support to that very network that you are a part of. So just thinking about your story and then bringing that story on LinkedIn as well. So sometimes it's very easy to just share certain posts when you with that little share button on LinkedIn, but it's so important to bring your story and to bring your own perspective, because that's what makes you unique as well. And there's a famous quote by Oprah Winfrey, and so she mentions about how there's a challenge where you have a resume, but it doesn't tell you the story. It doesn't give you a background of who you are, who you want to be. So you need to think about, how is it that you're bringing your purpose to life? How is it that you're telling a story so that it represents who you are at the core? Um, at the core. So I'm just going to, yeah, the next slide is on imposter syndrome. Now, I have faced it, and that's why I'm bringing it to light here. A lot of us women face. A lot of us women tend to, I would say women tend to face the imposter syndrome more, where you feel that you got to a certain place because of luck, that this is not your true self, and you are always shadowing someone, or you are always wearing a mask, and you often feel that. And it's not just us, but even people like Maya Angelou felt that she wrote 11 books, but she always felt that someone was going to find out that she was an imposter and she was not who she was, despite having achieved so much. Albert Einstein felt that as well, that at times it's quite easy to feel to feel uneasy, because you don't know whether what you stand for is really how you're being perceived, and if people are going to catch you being that imposter. But it's important in these times, when you have those moments of self-doubt, or when it comes in, I would say, in some kind of a tussle with your personal brand, it's important to remember and to bring out your true self. It's very easy for us to kind of brush off compliments. If someone says you did a good job, I, for example, would often say, oh, it's a team effort. Oh, my team did this. I was just a part of that process. But take pride if you get that praise. Keep those emails close, keep those moments. If someone's praised you, make sure that you note them, and that you actually take and that you accept them graciously, so that you know that you are, and your personal brand is of quite a strong value to you. So don't forget that you absolutely have that ability to be able to shape your brand around what your values are, around what your strengths are. It's also important to get that feedback. The 5 people who you reached out to, ask them, has it changed as you develop over time? Has it changed? Do you see me a little differently as you work on making those 80% of your strengths stronger, and then mitigating those 20%? Ask them if they are seeing those changes. And it's a constant process that you have with your personal brand in terms of how you enhance it and what is it that you want to bring forward. But I think knowing your values is at the first step. And of course, I'm sure that Ruby has even more ideas and examples and thoughts that she's going to be sharing with you in a moment. But I think one of the last ones that I want to share with you is, think about your network. Think about who is it that you're working with, around who you are, and how are they going to be advocates for you? How are they going to be a support group when it comes to also elevating your personal brand? And with that, I'm going to hand over to Ruby, where she will be sharing with us about her career path, but also about a few top tips and advices. So over to you, Ruby, and we'll move into the women in tech as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kanisha. I identify with a lot of those points that you've talked about there. And we'll come on to how we can mitigate some of those through my own experiences in 20 years of working in tech. So people can't see me, but I will give everyone a big wave and say to you, well done. It's absolutely inspiring, the work that you're doing with this hackathon, especially as it aligns towards a circular economy. And that's a passion that I have as well. So if we just move on to the next slide, Kanisha has kindly decided to work the slides for me, so I'll be letting Kanisha know when to move on. Did we want to do we're looking at the Menti at the moment. Yep, if you
Yes.
just, okay. Okay, so with
Yep.
the Menti, do you want me to
Happy.
walk through this?
Happy to walk through this. So we thought that it would be nice to ask you and get everyone excited about some women in tech. It's all about celebrating, and so we had a quiz that we wanted to do with all of our attendees. Sorry. And we thought that for those of you who are joining us today, if you're on Menti, if you wanted to go on to 68244188.
Yeah, it's a great application, Menti is. If
Yeah.
you've not used it before, it's surveys, and we've got a great question there for you. And the question is, who wrote the first machine algorithm for a computing machine only existing on paper? And it still does to this day. This lady has almost been written out of history, but I do hope that today's schoolgirls and schoolboys actually learn about this lady, because she's very famous, had a very famous father. Okay, there's a clue. Okay, and she had a very famous mentor as well. And if ever you come to Vodafone, you will see that we have a building named after her mentor, and it is indeed Ada Lovelace.
Ada Lovelace. So well done. It is. Yep. And then we have the next one. And you might know her, you might recognize her. She was in Hidden Figures, the movie. I'm sure that you remember Katherine Johnson, but do you know what Katherine Johnson was known for?
And while people are thinking of the answer there, I did see the film, and it's so inspiring because Katherine Johnson lived in a time where we had the civil rights movement across America. So, you know, she triumphed over adversity, which is a crazy, amazing thing that she has done. And yes, indeed, she did help NASA to put the astronauts into the Earth's orbit. And the film is beautiful. Have you seen it, Kanisha?
I have,
Yeah.
and it's one of my favorite movies. I made my sister watch it with me because she's one of those. She's 15, and I've already started seeing her gravitating towards the STEM subjects. She
Excellent.
loves maths. And,
Yeah.
when I see her, and then when I think about, how women really should be, empowered within the STEM subjects and should be remembered and should be highlighted, I want her to be one of those. And I thought, why not make her, watch Hidden Figures with her?
Brilliant.
She loves maths. And, Katherine Johnson was known as the, human computer, human
Yes.
calculator,
Yes.
even in the movie. So, and within her life as well. So that's fantastic. I just wanted to share with you that the options here, where we're thinking about that she helped NASA put an astronaut in the Earth's orbit. The other two options here, so the first to study the composition of the Earth's core, or the first to study the composition of stars, these are also women who were in tech
Fantastic.
and who have helped the world come up with these brilliant inventions and just discoveries as well. The final one, which is the first computer compiler, so she co-developed the earliest standardized computer languages. So really looking from going, on paper into code. So do we know who she is?
And it's incredible. These ladies are absolute pioneers, and there are many more. And it's so great. We think computing is only done by men, but the pioneers, the original people to first enter, were indeed women. So it, it's incredible that we need to tell these stories. We need to absolutely celebrate these ladies, because if we don't, we need role models all the time. And it is indeed Grace Hopper.
Absolutely. And we have, so in Vodafone, we in one of our campuses, so our Newbury campus, we actually have a Hopper House as well, which is dedicated to Grace Hopper and the work that she did in the world of tech.
Yes, amazing. And we also have the Babbage House as well, which is the mentor of Ada Lovelace as well. So, yes, thank you,
Awesome.
Kanisha. Thank you. And again, I'm going to say well done to everyone on a fantastic hackathon. And I'll tell my story now very quickly. My story is I've been working in tech for about 20 years now. And I'm often asked the question, is working in tech boring, especially with females? Because I often find myself the only person. And the answer, of course, I hope you said it in your heads. It is indeed no way. Tech is never boring. And I will be sharing my story here. So if we go to the next slide. So I love this picture. I really do, because it's pretty much to what Kanisha says about our inner selves and our inner imposter syndrome. We have to fight that. And the way we do it is by thinking of our younger selves. When we first thought about what we like to do, we were invincible. We really were. And what we were ready. We were so ready for the world to take on. So if you just scroll through the slides there, please, Kanisha. Thank you. Just click through again. So yes, and so what we really need to have is keeping that passion that we have for our subjects. And I want to share with you my journey and some of the projects that I was on, and hopefully we can be inspired. So my career journey is I studied STEM subjects at college. I was the only girl to do physics in the physics class. But again, I needed that resilience to say, I'm a girl working in computing. I have a passion for my subject. And I want to continue with this passion to continue. So I did computer science degree and a physics degree together. Very few girls in the class. But again, I found that I liked the subject. I absolutely loved to be able to build things. I had curiosity built into me. And I didn't want that to die. I said, I've got to do something. I've got to be as hardworking and as good as everyone else. And that's one of the biggest tips I will give to you, that you have to hold on to that inner self that you come with, that you are good at what you do. And today, and all of last week and this week has proved that from all the hackathons and all the amazing things you've been working on. Now, I did an industrial placement, which I ummed and ahed about. I did a 4-year degree, and I thought, should I just finish my degree or should I just go towards a mid-term industrial placement? And I did. I did an industrial placement, which I will tell you about later. But that was the biggest turning points of my career, was to actually go into industry, learn about subjects, actually see them being applied. And it was so good. And my first job was at BT. I was a systems integrator and a test engineer, working on very complex programs and projects in the voice services. And I was on a graduate scheme as well, pretty much to how Vodafone does it. And I learnt so much. And working on these large systems, I began to think to myself, can I influence the design of how things are being made? So I took a career path change and became a solution designer. And finally, we just click on the next slide. Next picture, please. Yep, and my final career is I am now a senior solutions architect. And I've been working as a solutions architect for about the last 10 years or so in that career field. So in the next slide, you're probably thinking to yourself, what does a solutions architect do? And if you think it's a person that builds buildings, okay, not quite. We do have different roles in architecture. We have a technical architecture, we have data architects, and we have solutions architects. Pretty similar, but there are some differences that we have. Number one, to be a solutions architect, I want to tell you it's not just about technical solutions and technical know-how. I really value the fact that we all need to have soft skills as well. I need to be able to communicate. I need to be able to collaborate. I never work on my own. I work with people. And if I can't communicate with those people, then being a technical solutions architect or solutions architect designer, I'm not being my full self. And I know for a full fact that us females are so good at communicating. This is where we win points over our male colleagues. We're so good at it. And we're networkers. We are so good at collaborating and telling people the story. Kanisha's absolutely right. It's about storytelling. And that's no different to when you're building a solution. You bring people with you. So technical know-how, yes. Technical solutions, building them, but also remember, you need to be able to communicate and collaborate and be an overall problem solver. You're there to solve problems. And that's what we love. We love to make the world a better place. So yes, one hand, you need technical know-how, but the other hand, you need all those soft skills. And one thing I've always and will always take with me on my journey is that I've constantly got to keep thinking of innovating. That's in the back of my mind. Be a person that thinks of something new all the time. And you're all on a winner with this, because young people are so good at innovating. You've come from the social media world. You come from a world where you're constantly collaborating, working with people, networking, and innovating all the time. So that's a little intro into my role at the moment. But what I want to do, and that's most important, is to share with you some of the projects I've worked on. And I've been so lucky to have worked on these amazing projects. So firstly, let me tell you about my industrial placement, because if you are thinking, shall I do one? Shall I not? Shall I just complete my degree? My advice is definitely do an industrial placement. You will gain so much out of it. Now, there's a picture of me. I think I'm roughly about the same age as you would be. I think I'm in my early 20s there. And what you see is I'm working at a research institute called the Rutherford Appleton Laboratories in Oxford, and I'm working an optical bench. Okay, it's an optical system. Now, believe me, I had no idea I would be put into this laboratory to help with experiments that were helping to find a cure for cancer. And it was all to do with that system you're seeing there is a laser pulse system. And what we were doing, out of picture, there are some target areas where the pulsed laser was being fired into. And we were firing the laser into Petri dishes which had cancer cells within them. So it's all done in a lab situation. And we were looking at, together with the university from Birmingham, how fast it took for the DNA of those cancer cells to be damaged and then to repair themselves. So believe me, I was over the moon, me, little old me, to be working in a laboratory with amazing scientists at the very forefront of technology and science. And can you believe it? I was on research papers, and I'm just so proud of my contribution that I did in the science and engineering world to help forward science, in effect. So what did I learn? If we quickly just look at the advice I would give you. Be curious. That's what science, engineering, and technology is all about, the STEM subjects. You are looking for solutions all the time. And you've done it today. You've done it all this week in your hackathons. You've been curious and you've constantly keep on asking the why question. Why is it like this? Why do we have to figure out that way? Why can't we go this way? And when you ask those questions, you are enriching your solutions. So in the science world, just keep on asking the word why. It's incredible. You'll gain so much and your challenges will lessen the minute you start asking why. And do you remember that picture of that girl that's a boxer? She's constantly been asking why. She's been that little Miss Bossy. She's going to keep on asking the why, and always take that with you. The other 2 points are, as I've said before, please do industrial placements. Your knowledge, your network, your ability to communicate so much more with people different to your peers will so much help you when you do come into the working environment. And if you've done an internship, which is absolutely, I know Kanisha's done an internship, I wish I had as well. You learn incredible amounts, and it also sets you up for a job as well. You've got more likelihood to find yourself a lovely role within a company that you've chosen to go towards. Okay, so the next project I want to share with you was when I moved towards O2 and I was a solution designer. Now, the older people within us may recognize these kinds of devices. If you look at these devices, you're going to see that they've got buttons, horrible push buttons on them. And they also don't have a swipe screen, okay? And that funny big square in the middle of the phone, that's actually like a little joystick, how you'd move up and down on the screen. So these were the early phones for mobile internet. And when I was working in O2, I was part of a little spin-off, but still within O2, called Genie. And we were pioneering the first ever mobile internet services. And Vodafone was doing exactly the same. But it was really cutting edge at the time. It really was. I even myself thought, when I used the internet on some of these phones, I thought this will never catch on, because it was so ropey, it was so kind of cumbersome. And today, where are we? Who does not have access to the internet through their mobile phone? So again, it was a case of working on a project where I probably, if I recall, was the only girl working in that group at the time. And I brought so much to the party. Never think that you're different to people, that you're not going to bring anything. My contribution was exactly, if not better, than my colleagues' contribution to this whole program. So what's my advice I would give you? My advice is be your authentic self. Don't try to be like John, Michael, Sanjay, anyone else, because you are not them. You bring your own ability and your own strengths to building a solution, to building a network of solutions. You are absolutely brilliant. And what you do when we think about imposter syndrome, we've got to fight that imposter syndrome to say that authenticity is you, you are real. And what you're also doing in your career journey, you're finding your passion to be someone who wants to save the world through tech, someone who believes so much in climate change that they really want to make a difference with the technical solutions they can find. And today you've been doing that exactly, helping the circular economy to better for a betterment of a world. So find your passion and gravitate towards it, navigate your career. Throughout my career, I've always tried to grow. Never stand still, have a growth mindset. If you see something that's at a parallel to what you're working on, go towards it. You'll learn so much that you can take back towards your own skill set. Here's an example. I'm so interested in psychology, so interested in philosophy nowadays, and I'm bringing that towards my work nowadays. Am I becoming a better person for all the information I am learning? And also, finally, I'm always looking for opportunities. Opportunities not just for myself, but opportunities for people around me to help make the world a better place. Kanisha called out to me because I put a posting out on our internal workplace about women in tech. I said, of course, I want to help people because it's opportunities. We network together, we get to know each other, we help each other. And that's what it's all about. Another project I worked on, which I am so happy to share with you, is I did work for the UK government for a few years as a technical architect. But what I did, and this is all about volunteering, always volunteer whenever you get the chance. And an email came to the department saying, we want someone to be the green IT champion. And in those days, I thought to myself, I have no idea what green IT is. This is about 10 years ago. And I volunteered, and I was so pleased I did because I was able to work on projects building mathematical models to look at the amount of energy that technology and IT uses for powering our servers, for powering our machines, for powering our PCs and printers. And it was a phenomenal amount of energy we were using. And that picture's a data center. If ever you get the chance in your career to go to a data center, please do. Racks and racks and racks of technology in there. And we need to have policies that make sure we have sufficient air conditioning, we're not overpowering, and we're not using so much energy. So my part in helping the environment to be more cost conscious as well as environmentally conscious went together to build policies. So I was so grateful. And one of the little things I'll let you know, I even appeared on a little video that was shown on 10 Downing Street. So who knows where your career takes you? If you just go for those opportunities in the areas that you are in, and always move around. Don't just think you have to stay with one company or one department in one company. The graduate scheme in Vodafone is brilliant because it allows you to rotate. It allows you to sample different areas before you find your specialism. But when you do, expand your world around your specialism, you can learn extremely amazing amounts of new information if you do move around in your own, like I have in my own specialism of technical architecture. Don't be afraid to work in different sectors as well. I've worked in the private sector and the public sector, and I've worked with startups as well. Each area brings its own uniqueness, and your uniqueness also finds a little niche to help those particular areas as well. And the final area that we'll move on to is here, me at Vodafone now. Now, let me tell you about the picture first. That's me, okay? And I'm with a lovely guide dog called Sky there, and with its owner, Barry, who is registered blind. Now, this is an amazing project I want to tell you about because Vodafone's purpose is all about connecting for a better future. And when we connect for a better future, that future is for everyone. We absolutely have to have inclusivity. We have to have everyone coming with us, no matter what your walk in life, where you come from, how you relate to things, what your race is, what your gender is, what your disability is. We absolutely need to connect and build products and services for everyone within the world, in society. So when I was working on a project called OneNet, it had one particular service which was about an operator console, which is a digital switchboard, putting it very simply. I'm the solutions architect for it. And it's a drag and drop user interface. It uses a mouse. Blind people cannot use mice. They cannot use screens unless they have screen readers actually built in to these capabilities that are web-based. And I worked with, well, I knew Barry from when I did my MBA, and I sat next to him, and I was absolutely blown away how he uses technology to navigate his world. So when in Vodafone, I was working on this project, and I know about the fact that we need to absolutely bring disabled people, people from different walks of life, to use our products. I brought Barry and Sky into our project, and all the development team were amazed at the ability of how much we learned working with Barry and Sky to learn how to develop with screen readers, how to develop so we are not leaving behind certain sections of our society. We want everyone to use our services. And that was just an amazing project. And I just think I still harken back to that project about 2 years ago, where I learned so much that society is built of different people and everyone is part of a society where we need to be connected. So my advice is very quickly that find your passion. My passion is all about building a fair and equal society, and that's why I gravitated towards this project. I want everyone to be authentic. Let your inner self shine. Don't let anybody dampen that love you have of technology. Only you can fight that with that little girl with the boxing gloves, and you know you can. Little other things, keep on learning and look for professional qualifications as well. I'm a fellow of the Chartered Institute for IT, and it's a great place to network with other people outside of my industry to get to know about the ethics of technology, to get to know about diversity, and also women in tech is also what I get to know. So on my one but last slide, I have invented on my journey throughout the crossroads and the challenges of my life. I've invented, and I hope you will too, my own personal survival handbag. I love it. It's around me, my handbag. It contains a toolkit. So, Kanisha, let's just click on and see what's inside my toolkit. Time and time again, I'm going to keep on carrying this with me. I'm going to keep on telling myself that I need to be myself. No, everyone else is taken. That's the joke. That's why you need to be yourself. Your unique, authentic self is who you need to be. You need to be always visible. We did that brilliant Mentees survey just recently about ladies who have done incredible things in technology and could almost be written out of history if we don't tell their stories. And if we think technology is for men, we are so wrong, because it was the women that mainly started computing, coding, compile making, putting programs that got men onto the moon. And we need to live on that spirit. So we also need to be visible. If there is any doubt, always put yourself forward. What else can you lose? You need to always think that, keep that imposter syndrome as quiet as possible. So you have absolutely right to be here. You have absolutely every right to work in tech. And you're going to keep on looking for opportunities. You're going to gain new skills. You're going to be the person that people will go to. You'll build networks. networking, networking, networking. It's so important. And I'll come on to that just a little bit later. But be a great communicator. You can be. You have ways and tools and methods of being able to tell people about what you know and what you want people to know as well. Get yourself a mentor. Keep on being coached all the time. It can be invisible coaching. I'm doing it now. I'm learning so much of Kanisha on this presentation. She doesn't even know. So invisible people also help us as well. We can be coached in a very non-verbal way or by people's actions as well. So keep those skills with you. So just on the point of networking, I just want to tell you on the last slide that because I'm so keen to share my story, to help people and give back. In the last 2-3 weeks, we've started the Women in Tech community group within Vodafone. It's a huge group. I'm absolutely overwhelmed by the people who want to come with me on this movement to say we are a group of women that love technology and we want to help each other towards gender equality. And I'm the chair of this group, and I'm so pleased that I find people like me, and we've invited men to the group as well, because we don't want to live in a bubble. And on my final slide, I just want to tell you that we together can really reimagine a future. It's a future with you in STEM. It's a future with you in tech. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. And we really hope that you will one day come to work with us in Vodafone. I'm just going to hand over back to Kanisha and say thank you very much for listening.
Thanks, Ruby. Honestly, and while Ruby was mentioning about the coaching, the invisible coaching, just hearing her story for me as well. I've heard it informally, but today, like in the depth that I heard the story, it just goes to show the amazing, you know, just achievements that women in tech can do. Women like Ruby, of course, in tech who've achieved so much and have done so, and while at the same time being connected to a greater purpose. As she spoke, I could hear that purpose coming through about why she was in tech and what is it that she does, and really bringing it back to how wonderfully her personal brand shines. And I think that's what we think about as well, when we're thinking about enhancing our personal brand. So I just wanted to give you a quick insight. We did speak about Vodafone, and we did speak about our purpose and why purpose is so important. So we do connect for a better future, and everything that we do, whether it's to connect 1 in 16 people worldwide, or in terms of building a digital society to protect the world, to embrace everyone, to bring everyone on this journey where we are connecting people to this new way of life. Things are moving at a very rapid rate. We understand that, we appreciate that, and we want to make sure that when we connect people, we're connecting everyone so that no one is left behind, that everyone is on this journey of tech with us. So as a brand, we stand for this. We stand for technology and the human spirit, so bringing it together, that together we can really build this and help to connect for a better future, and at the same time protect our planet. So you're all here doing the circular economy hack, so very relevant to us as well, in terms of when we think about technology, we think about the e-waste. Ruby mentioned that as well. That was a part that she worked in. She has had experience in that sense. But when we as a company think about what we are doing in this space, taking initiatives, not just speaking about them. Sometimes brands tend to speak, and when we think about personal brands, we tend to think about how do I want to perceive. There's also a part of us that takes action towards how we want to be perceived. And Vodafone does take those actions. So whether that's, to want to be the best employer for women by 2025, or whether in the space of tech, then in protecting our planet, that we want to cut our environmental impact in half by 2025. And we're on the way. So for example, by July this year, across our European countries, we're going to be 100% powered by sustainable renewable energy. So really taking those actions with your personal brand. And I think it's just something that, these are questions that do tend to come up. And I just wanted to share with you the youth and, Ruby mentioned that take initiative when it comes to your brand, when it comes to trying to enhance it. Try these different programs that companies like Vodafone are doing, the industrial placement programs, summer placement programs, graduate programs, apprenticeships. They're all here to support you and to help you even more, in when it comes to enhancing your skills, enhancing your strengths, and making you a true woman in tech as well. So I just wanted to share those insights with all of you. Now, I'm not sure if you have, if we have certain questions that have come up on YouTube while we are sharing. Of course, on the Menti screen, if you wanted to ask us any questions, we'd be more than happy to take them on.
Yeah, I was going to say, as always, if there's any questions, just let us know in the YouTube comments. Obviously, you've got the Menti link as well. I think I just had one, well, maybe more of a comment than a question as well, but just to kind of highlight the importance, I think, Ruby, of what you were saying and what you shared around the projects you worked on. And I think a theme throughout the last couple of weeks, especially, obviously, there's a lot of kind of stereotypes and stigmas around a career in tech. I think everyone knows about them, everyone knows about trying to change them. But I think it's so important to have a look at that output and the actual kind of impact you can have on a project, on something that's wider than tech. I think we've found that it can often kind of get pigeonholed into, even if you are a developer who spends your day coding, I think you need to kind of look at the wider picture of, well, what are you doing? What are you coding for? And like you as kind of
Yes.
solutions architect, I guess it's slightly easier sometimes for you to get that visibility. But so, for example, what you were saying about the kind of cancer research and stuff, you know, that's incredible. And anyone on this call can kind of go and have the same opportunities with a career in tech. Like it's not just that I built a website or I built an app. Like it's so much wider than that. And yeah, like I
Yes.
say, I guess that's not really a question, but just thank you for highlighting that because it's certainly been something that's come up this week a lot. And obviously, we're trying to inspire everyone that's watching.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's super important.
Yeah, just to build on that, if I may,
Yeah, go for
Alex,
it.
it is exactly, it's known as the line of sight towards the company's mission, like Vodafone's is to connect for a better future for everyone. So what we try and do is to ensure that every employee knows as much as they can what their piece of work is doing to build that future for a connected society. And we also have lots of networks. I belong to the Women's Network, there are ethnicity networks, and it's all about people as well, helping other people as well. So your small bit of code could be helping someone else as well to learn about coding. It's we are so much more connected in this world today, and knowing your little contribution, I get so much more helping people than I do with my
Yeah.
outputs nowadays. So it's incredible, and that's what the world of work is all about now. There's this paradigm shift that we are really looking at. How are we building a better future for everyone, and a future that's inclusive, that belongs to everyone? And we feel so empowered to know that. That is so, it makes us get up, jump up and down. This is what I'm working on, guys. I'm helping something, and that is a very good message. Thanks for highlighting that, Alex. That's really good.
No, no problem at all. Like I say, it's something that we'd seen throughout the week, and I think it's kind of the perfect way to tie off today. Obviously, our last session of the event, our last day of the event rather. And yeah, I think it was great to see so many examples and so many different examples. So yeah, just a big thank you both for giving up your time to be part of this. Hopefully, everyone watching this found it kind of inspirational. And whether you're watching it live or watching it retrospectively, you can always drop us any questions on the Discord server. So yeah, Ruby, Kanisha, thank you very much.
Thank you very
No,
much.
thank
Thank you.
you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ruby. And thank you all for joining as well.